Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me in the locker room on this Wednesday, February 8th. I'm Alan Locker. Today, you will meet up-and-coming actress Dani Guevarez, who is best known for her role in the hit BET Plus original series First Wives Club, where she plays the ex-wife to Tyrell, played by comedian actor Affion Crockett. Her other credits include Inevitable, At Mamu's Feet, and Inner Demons the Thrillogy. Dani has also found success as an author, writer, director, and owner and sole acting coach for Acting for Beginners. The latter is where she spends most of her time outside of performing. Coaching is so near and dear to her heart as it is a way of passing the baton to new and uprising creatives. As a working actress herself and coach, Dani shows no signs of slowing down, with several projects in the pipeline for 2023 and beyond. It's my pleasure to welcome Dani Guevarez to the locker room. Hey, Dani.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm in the locker room.
You are in the locker room. Take me back. Tell me where you grew up.
All right. Well, I grew up in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Ooh, okay.
At the beach.
Yeah, at the beach.
Yes. Yeah, so I grew up there, and my focus I was there in middle school and high school. So my focus there was dance. I knew I had to do something with entertainment, but it was dance. Cheerleading, dance team.
Why dance? What?
Well, my mom put me in dance
At a
at
young
early age. Yes, I was maybe 4 or 5. So at that age, I was learning how to use my body. So I guess that's the first thing, you're using your body, the first thing, what the talent that you can do. So she had me in dance, and that's all I really knew until she had me singing in church choirs. Then I discovered that I had a voice. So I was doing dancing and singing, but mostly through middle school and high school and college. I went to college in Jacksonville, Florida. It was all dance.
Nice.
Yes.
Are there dancers that you yourself have looked up to over the years?
Yes, my earlier years, Janet Jackson. I was a Janet Jackson fan, and then Sierra came along, and then I was, studying her dance a little bit, but I would say more on the Janet Jackson side, with the choreography of just, everything is the precision. So I would say Janet Jackson was my influence when it came to dance.
I mean, I could watch her for hours. I wish I, could do that, but I definitely am a white boy who can dance, but but I, not necessarily to that degree. Who or what influenced the decision to move to acting?
Well, so once I finished college, I moved to Atlanta because I wanted to pursue dance further. I went on an audition for dance in Atlanta, and I really didn't study the freestyle, like freestyle dance. I'm not really a freestyle dancer. Of course, you go out to the clubs and you just, move and do whatever you do. But when it came to an audition, they played some music and they wanted me to dance and just have all those eyes on you, and you have to just come up with something on your own. That kind of scared me a little bit. And from that audition, I guess the rejection from it, I just saw that maybe this isn't something that I really want to pursue, to continue to hear no. So
I can't imagine. I mean,
yeah,
I know what no feels like when I'm just, looking for a job, and we don't look for jobs as often as actors or dancers are looking for a part. So, it's gotta, it's gotta wear on you. There is no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be something that you love to do. So I went on Craigslist, and of course, back then, Craigslist, I don't even know if Craigslist is still around.
Yeah, I don't hear much about it. I know that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You actually, that was a blast from the past. I hadn't heard Craigslist in a while.
Yeah, so thanks to Craigslist, I got my first acting role, and so that's how I got into it, from getting that yes in acting. And the movie is called You Are Not the Father. I got like a supporting lead role, and I just kept going from there. It was played on a big screen, and I just kind of fell in love with seeing myself on the camera.
That's awesome. What prompted Atlanta, to go from Florida to Atlanta, thinking that's where, now I know a lot of things have moved there, but is that what?
Well, it was between New York, Atlanta, and California. So since I was in Florida, there were two things that came to mind when I was making this decision. I didn't want to move too far with I wasn't too sure, really. Like I said, I was wanting to pursue dance and more of the jazz hip hop. So I knew Atlanta was the place for music. So that was one, not moving too far from Florida, but far enough. And then the cost of living was a lot cheaper. So I was like, if I'm going to do this by myself and, not have roommates and all of that starting off, let's stop in Atlanta first and see what happens. And I just kind of got stuck here.
All right. Have you fallen in love with Atlanta?
Yes, I have. Now, I wouldn't mind, going to New York or California for a gig here or there, maybe have a rental home or something, a condo. But I think I have a feeling that Atlanta is going to be my home.
Your home. Well, and that's, it's such a different world for performing these days where you can do what we're doing right now and just go on, to a Zoom and, record your audition, and you don't have to be in a room. And COVID did that as well.
Yes, it has. It's like, I'm grateful that it happened. Sorry for those that it has affected negatively, but
Correct.
I would say in my case, I have seen the silver lining in it all, with self-tape auditions, seeing casting directors and directors via Zoom to book roles. I even booked a role where I was able to record the scene in my own home, and they used it in their commercial. So I'm grateful for it. It's definitely, it has introduced us to a practice as far as auditions where self-tapes are not going anywhere. It's here to stay. It allows the casting directors to see more actors than they would if we had to come into a building and perform in front of them.
Interesting. Talk about some of, the early struggles, as an aspiring actress, living in the car, staying with family, little money to your name, talk about the struggles and sort of how it helped shape who you are today.
Okay. Yes. I want to correct something, because I know I did a video some years back called The Underdog. It was for I don't know if it was a blog site called The Underdog. And they wanted to hear my story. And when I recorded it, I was sitting in my car talking about, the ups and downs and what I was going through to pursue acting. So a lot of people think that I was staying in my car, but I wasn't staying in my car. I never stayed in my car, but I have stayed on some friends' couches. Couches.
Thank God for friends, right?
Exactly. Family members that have spare rooms that aren't asking for rent. So just babysit your little cousin. Things like that.
that was the rent.
Yes, exactly. So that went on for years. It went on for years, but I was determined not to go back to Florida, because you hear those stories. Once you go back, it's hard to come back. So I'm like, I'm already here in Atlanta. I have to make it work. I'm an only child, so I've always been very persistent and independent when it came to, I guess, just life and living. So, one of my first stage plays, maybe the third stage play I did, I had a lead role, and I was working at the time. I was working at a liquor store. So it's like,
Gotta make money.
Yeah, you have to make money. This isn't what I got my degree in, but it's money, you
Yeah.
know. So I was working at a liquor store. I had a stage play, lead role, no understudies, family coming in town to see me. I put in like 2 weeks ahead of the show that in my work, I was like, hey, I have this show coming up. Can I either leave early or something? I will work this day, but I will have to leave early to go to perform. So they had it's all in writing and everything. So the day comes and they were still stalling to give me a yes or no, but I knew that I'm going to leave regardless, whatever the answer is, because I have no understudy for this show. So they told me, if you leave, don't come back that the day, you know. So I was like, well, it's a liquor store, I'm leaving. So
Yeah.
so I don't know if you would say that I quit or I got fired, but either way, that's when I guess it was like a down spiral where I just kind of had to pursue it, walk out on faith, and just keep going. So this was, let's say, maybe 2010. So from 2000, was it 2010? I moved to Atlanta in 2008 to pursue acting. So around 2010 or maybe the end of 2009. So at this point, up until then, I did have my own place. But when I lost my job, that's when you lose your apartment because you can't.
Yeah, you start to lose everything.
You tend to lose everything. So I was at that time thinking like, oh, I'm going to be the, overnight success. It's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to do this stage play. Someone's going to be in the audience. You have these big dreams and hopes. I was thinking like that for years. Every single project, I'm thinking this is the big one. And it just caused me to stay with other people while I'm still having so much faith in this, I guess, dream,
You have to believe in yourself.
Yes, you have to. You have to. So I know my family, my grandmother every day is calling me. Are you looking for a job? Are you looking for a job? Just every day. So I'm doing kid birthday parties. I'm babysitting my cousins and just doing. I also have a cosmetology license as well. So I'm doing hair.
Great.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a cosmetology license at the time, but it was something that I could do to make money as well. So I'm doing all those things to bring in some kind of income so I can feed myself. And so I'm doing all of these things. And then a situation happened to where my back was up against the wall. Of course, I'm getting older. I'm like now maybe 20, 26, 27. When you start to reach 30, you're like, okay, now what's going on? So around 26, 27, my back is up against the wall. Like, hey, Danielle, you have to make some kind of like, you have to be a little more stable. Stability.
Right. Have a stable job, have a stable income.
Exactly. So I woke up and I was like, okay, I have to do something. So I was, I guess, pushed to go to the mall. It's a mall, Perimeter Mall. There's a hair salon in there, and it was a for hiring sign. And I talked to the salon owner, and I was like, "Hey, you guys are hiring?" He was like, "Yeah, hiring for assistants at the desk." I was like, "Okay, I just need a job." But then I looked, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I can do hair." I was like, "What do the stylists make? How do I become one of them?" He was like, "Oh, you got to go back. You have to go to school and get your license." I was like, "Okay, what's the school?" So I'm asking him all of this. He told me the school. I went to the school that very same day, and I was enrolled in school that day, and I had a job as an assistant at the desk. So that started my, I guess, stability.
You were determined. You needed to do something, and you found a way to make it happen.
Exactly. So from
But
there,
still believing that this was the career you wanted.
yes, exactly. So with me going back to school, I had a job. I kept that job and I was still pursuing acting, but it had to slow down because I had to focus on, now I'm like, I want my own apartment. I need my car, all of those things. So I'm still focused, but I know that the acting is still in the back of my mind. So I would do a gig here or there just to stay active. So then I did that. And then I went to get my cosmetology instructor license as well. And after all of this, got married. My husband's very supportive. And I was like, hey, I'm ready to jump back into acting again full time. And he was like, hey, go for it. And this was maybe 3 years ago that I stopped, doing cosmetology, working in the schools and behind the chair, and just went back into acting. And, I have a support team now that he's very supportive with, with me doing this. So 15 years of that. And
struggling.
Yeah. But you know what? I don't regret anything. It's definitely, it's like they say, when it comes to a tree, and you can tell I love plants and things. When it comes to a tree growing, right? We see like the branches and the leaves and the flowers and all that, but we don't see the roots. The roots have to grow first, and they grow down. So I look at those 15 years as me getting my foundation. So then now my tree is coming up, and my branches and everything else. The next 15 plus years is what everyone is going to see now. So I had to just get my foundation in and go through the life lessons, the yeses, the nos, the do's, the don'ts, the don't do agains. And so now I'm here in 2023, and it's been a long ride.
I love that. I love that tree analogy. When did was there a moment you realized you were on the right path? And those, you were setting the right roots in motion?
Yeah. I knew that I was on the right path when I got that very first audition from Craigslist, and I got the role. And when I was there watching the film at the movie premiere, there were like 2 women that came up to me, and it was like they prophesied to me. And they were like, we're going to see you on the big screen some more. We're going to see you in Hollywood. So that always stuck with me. That's what kept me going. But of course, there were moments where it's like, I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to do. Of course, when you hear a no from an audition, like
doubts, no's will always bring on the doubts. Sadly, they will always. And not only, there could be a yes to, doubts creep into all of us at strange times. I asked about the dancing earlier, who you looked up to. Who were some of your acting role models that you look up to?
There's so many. I would say the one that sticks out to me, and I love her because she can do comedy and drama, and she's fairly new, is Regina Hall.
Mm-hmm.
It's something about her that she's I don't know. It's like she's not trying too hard. I look up to her, but of course, I've always, looked into like Halle Berry. She's always been an influence. Kerry Washington, Viola Davis.
She just became an EGOT.
I know. Yeah.
How amazing is that?
Yes. Awesome. That is awesome. So there's so many. Yeah. The list can go on. Angela Bassett. Like Angela Bassett with her tone, her arms. So I'm like in the gym trying to get the Angela Bassett arms. I'm like, my next film, they're going to see these arms.
I'll share a little secret. I worked with her on What's Love Got to Do with It.
Oh, really?
I worked in the PR department for the Walt Disney Company. And so I had to take Angela around during that time, PR.
Wow. That's awesome. That's
Man. And it's funny because Lawrence Fishburne was just on The View today talking about the movie. I think it's 30 years since the movie.
Ooh, wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. Talk
about a performance in that movie, right?
Oh yeah. I can't even look at Lawrence Fishburne the same. Wow, he played that really well, and she did an amazing job with the lip singing and the dancing.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Talk about take me back to the first audition for First Wives.
The first audition?
Mm-hmm. What do you remember?
Let's see. The first audition, of course, there were 3 of them that I went through. And I don't know if I don't know what they knew. I didn't know that this was an audition for. I would say this: the auditions that I've done, it seems like it was an audition for the show, not the actual role that I got. And I say
Gotcha.
that,
Yeah. So they were looking at talent and maybe putting
Mm.
people into different parts. It wasn't you were called in to play Nina.
Exactly. Yes. Because I auditioned 3 times, and there were three different roles. So the first time, of course, they were all self-tape. The first role, I don't remember the character's name, but they were all 3 in the same season. And I just can't think of the characters' names, but they were all, I guess, different. The first one that I auditioned for, the scene was shorter. She had, a few lines here or there. The second one, it got a little bit bigger. And I would say she had maybe 2 or 3 scenes, I would say. So she had more dialogue. And at all these auditions, I'm like, I wonder if this character can come back. I'm always looking like, especially for a series.
Yeah, of course.
Person coming back,
I mean, that's what you would want, right?
Exactly. So
and did that film in Atlanta?
Yes, it did. And yes, it did. And all 3 auditions were maybe a month apart.
Okay.
So by the time I got this third audition, now I am looking for another job, but behind the scenes doing production, like being a production coordinator. So I'm going through this process of being a production coordinator and doing this audition. So I had my interview, like my third interview to be a production coordinator for this university, popular university. And I'm going through that process. When I get off the interview with them, I get a call from my agent, and she's like, "Hey, you booked the role of Nina." I was like, forget that production coordinator job. Cause you're kind of like, something got to come through. My agent called me and said, I booked that. And I was like, wow, no callback, just right off of tape. So I consider those times that I was auditioning, those were my callbacks. Or just trying to figure out what to place me.
Were you thrilled?
Yes, I was. Now, when I was on the phone with her, when she told me, I, try to play it cool, like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm excited. When I hung up the phone, I'm like jumping all, yes, finally, because this is my first speaking role on, I guess, television. I've done independent films, but for the question that all actors we hate to have asked is, what have I seen you on? So now I can say, if you go to BET Plus through Prime Video or however you have it, go to First Wives Club, season 3, episode 10. I'm at the mark of 20 minutes and such. I have a place where they can actually see me now. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love that. What was it like sharing screen time with Affion Crockett?
That was good. It was. I'm like a fan of the show anyway. So, and I'm a fan of his because I see, the skits and everything that he does. So I'm trying to stay in the scene as Nina and,
trying to be cool.
Yeah, trying to be cool and stay in the scene. But I'm also like watching as if I'm watching him, through a screen. And I'm like just front row, just watching. So that was tough to be like, okay, Dani, snap out of your Nina right now. Be Nina. You're supposed to be this, feel this way towards him. So, but off of camera, like just seeing his preparation, because we assume that he's just goofy and funny, all the time. But he was very professional and very focused on the role. So I thought it was really good to see him in action.
I'm sure, it's a great opportunity to learn, having the opportunity to watch others perform.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet any of the stars of the show?
Sorry, I know. Okay, Coco.
Your child?
Yes. Yes. So I did get to meet Tasha Smith. She was in the trailer right next door to me, so I was able to meet her. I saw Jill Scott. I didn't get to meet her because when I saw her like in the base camp, I'm being rushed off to get my hair and makeup done. So I didn't get to speak to her. I did see her. And who else did I get to see? Oh, Ron Rico. I saw him because I walked off of set. I was so excited. I walked off. I'm so excited now. I can't even
thinking about it.
I
Yeah,
know.
if you were a fan of the show, you must have been quite excited.
I was. And in the scene, I wore a wedding ring. And I walked off of set. I left, went home and everything wearing the wedding ring. So I was like, this is an excuse for me to go back anyway. So I'm going to go, back and, return it to them. So when I went back to return the wedding ring, I saw Ron Rico walking around as well. So yeah, hopefully they, call me back for the next season if there is another season, and then I can tell you more.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Absolutely. I love that. Love that. How does the adaptation of First Wives Club starring Black women differ from the 90s original? Do you know?
Actually, my publicist was like, you need to watch, because I didn't watch. I haven't seen
You hadn't seen the original.
I hadn't seen it, but he told me you need to watch it because this question is probably going to come.
Yeah.
So I did watch it, and I would say it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar, even though the culture and the races is different. Yeah, the story as far as women dealing with marriage and relationships, that's the same. And then how you take something so dramatic as far as divorce and you add comedy to it, that's there. And then even the aspect of in the movie, one of the main actresses she was an actress, whereas in the show, Jill Scott is like in the music industry. So,
different, yeah.
Yeah, so I like how they did that. So in ways it's similar, and then in others
it's not. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's such great movies or TV shows that you can remake with a different community or different age group of men or women, and it turns into something completely different, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. How did you start your virtual academy for aspiring actors?
Well, it started from Facebook through during the pandemic. Everyone's stuck in the house and everything is virtual. So, during that time, you're just trying to figure out how to have a business virtually, like what if this is life forever? So yeah, it's like, what if this God forbid, I know. So I'm like, I'm just gonna put some free information up online through Facebook, and that Facebook community grew from starting off maybe 30, 60 or something like that, just friends and family, people that you invite, and then like today it's like 64,000 members in that group.
That's amazing.
I don't know. I know. I don't know. I was just putting out information, and then the group, it just grew. It just grew. So I was like, you know what? People are wanting this information, and the company's called the group was called Acting for Beginners. And I was like, I'm just going to create an LLC. Maybe I have something here. And the name was available for me to create an entity, and I just kind of went from there, just taking baby steps. And once I took one step, then another idea came along where, okay, maybe you should do this. Now create an academy online where people can have courses.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh yes, I love coaching and teaching. So like how I said, I have a natural talent of doing hair. I didn't want to stay behind the chair. So I went to get my instructor's license.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was teaching beginners in cosmetology. I think I have a thing for beginners, those that are starting in whatever industry. I like to coach them and just give them knowledge that I have.
I love that. And the Facebook group, you said had 63,000 members, but over 75% were African actors. What does that mean to you?
That will definitely show me that there is a need out there for classes, for the education. Now I know they're doing really great. I've seen a lot of movies on Netflix, so their media department seems to be growing, but a lot of people aren't knowing how to get started, how to get there. So I help with that, and I tell them I only know the information of how we do it in the US. So the standard here is having your acting headshots, demo reels, and knowing how to do self tapes. Now, there, I'm not sure how it works, but I'm sure that if you have it looking professional, have the standard of how we have it, I'm sure it can, translate on over. But when it comes to acting, as long as you have the foundation, acting is acting. As long as it doesn't look like you're acting. That's my coaching style, to not make it look like you are acting. As long as it looks like you're not acting, then you're fine.
Absolutely. It's got to be natural.
Exactly. Yep.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Who are some of the other actors or projects you would love to work with in the future?
I would love to do action. I would love to do action. So, whomever, I'm not picky. I'm really not. Like, I just love acting. So as long as there's a great story, then I'm here to, to fill in for that role that's needed. But I would love to do action. So anything with action, maybe boxing, more of the boxing, kickboxing. Done a few stunt training, so wires and flying and all of that. Whatever that entails, whoever's out there doing that and directing that, Dani Guevarez is here.
Wow. Like walking a high wire?
I'll do it. I'll do it.
You're a brave woman for sure.
Yes, you see this right here? This scar on my chin. That's from high school, 11th grade in high school. I was riding on the back of a car. Now, this is 17 years old, so I'm old enough to know that I shouldn't be doing that. I'm riding on the back of a car. I jump off before I get to a stop sign. It was like either jump off now or wait till you get to the stop sign. I jump off and I have this scar right here. So this is...
You live to tell about it.
Yes. Yes, thank God. So almost...
Thank God.
Yeah. So I'm a daredevil.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
More so than myself. Talk about what Black representation in the arts and the industry means to you.
It's definitely needed. It showed myself and those that are wanting to get into the industry that we can. So just that representation just opens the eyes to those who think that they can't do it. So as far as me coming from Daytona, where it's small, someone can see me and be like, okay, wow, she left here and just went and moved to Atlanta, and now she's on First Wives Club. So representation, it matters. But like I have mentioned before, representation matters, but it has to be that good, positive, influential representation, because anyone can do it, but who do you want in front of that screen that's going to represent you or what you stand for? So it definitely matters, but it needs to come from those that will influence the world in a positive
light.
Yes.
Absolutely. February is Black History Month. Growing up, was it something that your family celebrated? Can you talk about what it meant to you and, what you think, maybe what it was to you, as a younger girl and now as a woman,
Yeah, well, I guess younger just because I am Black and everyone in my house was Black. I didn't, it just wasn't like I guess in my house, it just wasn't it wasn't a big deal because I was around the culture. you know?
Correct.
So I guess when, going to school and there's a month designated to it, you hear a little bit more, about your history and ancestors and, just,
Hmm.
you hear more about it. But I guess, I mean, it's celebrated every day just
Correct.
because I'm in the skin,
It, it,
it's just celebrated every day.
I am who I am.
Yeah, exactly. I am what, we are celebrating, so it's I feel as though maybe the month is it's good to have that month, but like I said, since I'm 365 24/7, I'm
Yeah.
there. I feel as though it's for those that aren't, to kind of focus on the Black
To
culture.
teach,
Hmm.
educate,
Yeah, to exactly.
educate. Well, no, knowing that they're trying to remove education, you know,
Mhm.
it's a horrible thought. But I'm Jewish and I'm gay, and I come from two Holocaust survivors. You know, it, we can't remove that history. We
Mhm.
have to learn from our history. We have to learn from the past to better our future.
Exactly. And yes, we do. And I feel like things I say, people are, I don't know. But yes, I agree with that. We have to learn from the past, and we have to learn from the past, and then we have to find a way to not forget, but forgive.
Hmm.
Because we'll hold on to what was done to us, and we'll be, "Rah, rah, 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 rah." Oh, yes, it happened, but how do you move forward? How do you move on?
Or correct. I know, you know, my mother had a very difficult time. Like she would not step foot in a German car.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
I think, you know, all Germans are not bad people.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. And then it's like, who does it really hurt though? When you hold that grudge in, it's not hurting them.
it's not.
It's
No,
not.
and
It's
it
really hurting
right.
you.
You have to right. Correct. But you understand people who lived through those things have a harder time in moving past. But I agree. But I really do believe, education matters. We have to know so it doesn't repeat itself.
Exactly. And then some, what you just said, people that live through it have it harder. And I'm going to say, like with me, I didn't live through it. So
Right.
why am I being grumpy and angry at those that they didn't even live through it? It was their
Ancestors or
ancestors
yeah,
that did it.
yeah.
So it's like we have to, uh,
It's tough. I mean, it's just it's but it is something we have to have conversations about. Just having
exactly,
a dialogue,
exactly. So it doesn't repeat itself.
100%.
Hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, going back to the teaching part, what was it like seeing them move on from you and, you know, go out, and sort of take those giant leaps that you were taking?
Ah, it feels good because I'm like something worked. Something in them that, like, there was this spark that was like, hey, I can just jump out and do it. And I'm one of those that I preach that 24/7. Like, take this information and go with it. Like, find other coaches as well, because you're going to learn something from everyone. So when I have a student, she was in Nigeria. Well, she's from Nigeria. And I've been working with her, and now she's in Chicago right now. And I'm still coaching her. She's in Chicago, and she just got signed to an agent. So from her in Chicago. So this time span, maybe 2 years that I've been working with her, she jumped out of Nigeria to come to Chicago. And, so it's just things like that. It's like, wow, I must be doing something right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Who have some, since, like this young woman you're speaking of, um, who are some of the folks who've had a big influence on you in the acting? Coaches or...
Yes, I would say there's one that stuck out to me. Her name is Nikki Buggs. She's an acting coach. She was a Falcons cheerleader as well, and she was a dance choreographer and dance coach. She does a lot of things, and I would say she's from New York. And that New Yorker, she's really tough. But I saw through it. I saw that sweet side. I can like push her little sweet button, you know? So it was something
I
about
love that description. I can push that sweet button in you.
I found it.
Everybody's got a sweet button, but we might not always find it.
Exactly. I found hers, and she was so tough and so strict and so stern, and I love that because it brought out that, like, I wanted to impress her. That's what it was like. She's so like, no, this isn't right, and it was like I did a performance in front of her. She choreographed the dance routine of it in the stage play, and to get that like approval of like, you did really well. I was like, but there was no but. And I would say with her sternness and just that, it just pushed me and drove me to just give it my all, and just really, I guess it was just her approval that just, it was something about that, like from this woman. So I would say she really, really influenced me. It was like this tough love. And I'm like, if it doesn't, I mean, I guess it shouldn't always have to come like that. But if someone can really drill you and they can see the potential in you, then I'm like, I need this person around, because she saw the potential in me. And there was moments where I would slack off and she saw it. So it's like you kind of need that tough love every once in a while.
And her seeing potential helps you see your own potential.
Yeah, because sometimes we don't see it. We don't know how talented we are. And they sometimes someone needs to come along and just fine tune it and just tweak it. That's like a singer. They can sing, but that coach will come along and just, let's try this. And it's like something else just comes out,
Do you still sing?
I do. Well, if you consider singing in the car, singing in the shower. So I do. Not pursuing it professionally, but I would say if there's a stage play that needs a vocalist, I can sing in that, or I'm not turning that down. So I will sing. I will.
Good. Well, talk about Atlanta. What do you love about it?
Let's see. What do I love about Atlanta? I would say the weather. The weather, there's 4 seasons, so I like that. Coming from Florida is just, well, now I guess it's changing. My mom will call me like, it's cold here. So, but I like the 4 seasons. I'm actually outside of Atlanta. I'm in like Marietta, so I like that. With being in Marietta, it's like the suburbs, like the houses, you have it's pretty quiet, except for now Marietta's growing a little bit because of the Brave Stadium. They moved the Brave Stadium up this way. So it's growing. We're getting a lot of people moving in. But with Atlanta being so close, it's like you go to Atlanta, it's like you're on vacation, because it's so much going on. You just drive around and you'll see someone with their camera phones or, their cameras filming a movie just randomly. And I like the fact now that in Atlanta, I don't know what these signs are called, but you're driving around and you can.
It says a film is on location.
Yes, the yellow signs with the black. Yeah, so
it's like it's telling you that a project is. We used to have them all over the streets of New York. I mean, I'm sure they still are over the streets of New York, saying that a production is coming in on Friday, and Sex and the City used to film all over the streets, and Law and Order, and those types of So
those signs are everywhere down here now, and I love it. I'm always trying to figure out what is why are, or, you know,
I
like,
know,
what
because
is
they
this?
sometimes try to trick you so you don't know who's
Mhm.
going to be there, for sure. For
Exactly.
sure. When you left Daytona, you headed to Atlanta for dance, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
What did the family think? Were they supportive?
They were. They were. Yes, they were. I feel as though they were like, let me just give her a few years. Let's see, you know, how this works out. But my mom was she was very supportive.
Grandma kept calling to get a job.
Yes, every day. Oh my goodness. That's probably why I ended up at a liquor store. I'm like, I just need to find something. Yes, I knew like that phone call was coming. That was my alarm clock every day.
If grandma was your, I love
It was
that.
my
Love
alarm.
that. Checking in on you. Checking
Yes.
in. You've worked with a lot of prominent actors in the Black community. The late Thomas McHale Ford, Michael Keith, Gail Bean. Talk about some of them, and maybe what you learned from each, if you learned something that you know that has stuck with you.
Yeah. So with those three actors specifically was in a film called At Mamu's Feet. And this was one of the films where I was like, oh, when this one comes out, everyone's going to know who I am. And with this film, it was shot in Louisiana. And like you mentioned, Thomas Ford, may he rest in peace, he was there. And I was a fan of his. And we filmed around my birthday. My birthday's in March. And we were filming like around my birthday. So that was like a gift. And I was actually on the project to assistant direct, as well as now I just stepped in that role. I didn't know anything about it.
I
Like I
love
didn't
that you've taken just all jobs, really. That's what a great way to learn too, by being on a set or taking.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I didn't really know what the assistant director did, but I heard director in that. So I'm sure I
And the light bulb went off.
the light bulb went off. So I'm sure I overstepped in that position, but I was on set and I was actually, I guess, directing these actors that you just mentioned. And what is Darian Wilson? He played Professor Ogilvy on the Parkers. He was in that too. So it was him and and Tommy Ford. They had a scene together, and I'm like, okay, you can sit here, and then you sit here, and like they're just listening to me. And so that was pretty interesting. But to watch them in action, this is when I learned that when the director says that you keep acting until the director says cut.
Mhm.
That's when I learned that because I'm watching them and they're just going. And I'm so into it, you know. I'm not saying cut, and the director's not saying cut, and they're just going and improving. And it was amazing to watch them in action. Yeah, to take they said the lines of the story and then to add their own at the end, and just yeah, I that's when I learned that to keep on going, because I just knew like just say the lines and then just wait, you know. I'm like, what do I do now? I didn't really know how important improv was.
Do you like improv?
Oh yes, yes, I love improv. I actually did a little bit. There is I was in an improv troupe here called Use a Fool, where we would perform every Wednesday. I believe it was every Wednesday night for a good, I would say we had like a year run
Oh
here.
wow,
At a comedy spot here, and I was part of that improv troupe, and that was really fun.
love that. Improv can, yeah, I just like watching people jump and
Yeah, but ooh, it was a little tricky for me because my mind can really go, and I have to be aware of my audience It was like, because with improv, you really just, whatever comes out, it just comes out. And I don't use profanity, in my just everyday speech. So when I'm there and doing improv, it's like some words would slip here and there. And then after the show, I'm like, oh, I feel so bad for, but it's like, I'm an improv. I can't just stop, So improv was a little risky for me.
Okay. What are some of your aspirations outside of acting?
Let's see. My mom would really love this. I would I would like to have a family. I mean, if we're talking to,
That's outside of acting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely outside of acting. I act like a mom all the time, but to really, be one, that would be nice. And I know she's probably crying right now. She's watching this.
She's watching.
Yeah. Yes. That, and then really, it's hard. It's kind of hard to think outside of acting when you're still wanting to, pursue that and do it. But I definitely want to take acting for beginners, like some workshops on the road. And I would love to open up those classes that those students are asking for in Africa. So that's what I would like to do as far as the entrepreneur, the business
Have
side.
you ever been?
No, I haven't. So I would love to go out there and scout some locations while I'm on vacation.
Yeah, I did a safari in Tanzania and hope to do another one in South Africa at some point.
Yeah, I gotta get out there.
Beautiful. I totally forgot what I was gonna. Oh, your husband, is he in the same line of work?
He's on the music. He's in the music industry. Yes, he's a producer, and he's a barber also. So that's how we met.
Really? I was like, wait a minute. I love that. That's great.
That's how we met. We're cutting hair together, and then I played him some music of me singing, and then he was like, "Hey, I do music," and so we just kind of connected that way.
I love that. I mean, and to think that the cosmetology wasn't something you were looking for. Mm-hmm. You needed, it was a way to survive. Mm-hmm. And it brought you two together.
Exactly. So that's what I was saying. I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, you never know, right? You never know where your paths cross. You were talking about the directing. Would directing be something you'd like? You're focused on the acting right now, but would you like eventually to possibly direct?
Yes, I would. I guess because I love to. I don't know if we would talk about this, but I have an audiobook called
House.
Oh, okay.
Talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the audiobook House Rules, it's a fictional story that I wrote, but then instead of me,
tell us what it's about.
Okay, it's about two couples coming together playing a card game, and within this card game, this game night, a whole bunch of drama is revealed between the couples. So it's really just drama with a little bit of comedy, and and I just pictured a scene where it really just takes place at a card table where there's food, there's drinks, and there's laughter, jokes, and talk about real issues that's going on, plus bringing in their drama as well, and just seeing how the night goes and unfolds. So that's what House Rules is about. And instead of reading with the audiobook, instead of reading every character myself, I was like, I'm going to cast the cast in this, the characters. So I casted everyone. I'm in it myself, and I was able to direct through voice, I guess, because you can't see them. It's an audiobook, but I was able to direct it, and that's a really good feeling when you have something on paper and then you're able to, I guess, act. I was coaching, so I was doing that as well. I'm doing it all, coaching and then directing them on how to, deliver the lines and do the scenes and everything. And we did it all through Zoom because it was during the pandemic. So I was like, we can't get together. We're just gonna do it all through Zoom. And
is that when you wrote this story as well during the pandemic?
Yes, I had the idea. I'm sorry. Let me plug this up. Don't want to lose you. Okay. Yes. So
time.
Yeah, it's dying. So I had the idea for this maybe 2 years before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, and it just kept coming up like, write it, just write it. So I wrote it for it to be a movie. That's what it was. That's what I saw initially. It was a movie, but of course, with the pandemic, I'm like, I can't get everyone here. We can't, really do that right now. So I was like, what about an audiobook? And I did that. I, wrote the first part. It was 30 minutes. And then I was watching an interview that was with Ice Cube. He was like, the best way to write a movie is to break it into 3 parts. So it was like, the first part, 30 minutes, the second can be 30 minutes, and then the last. And then I was like, okay, well, I have this first part to House Rules, and I want it to eventually be a movie. How about I do the second part, and then we do a third part? So it's a 3-part series or 3-part audiobook that I can now actually have it as a movie when I'm ready to film it.
I love that. That's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, so I would love to get into more directing the visually. I would love that. Yeah.
Did you know you had the writing ability in you?
No. And that's something I don't think that's my
that's not going to be.
Yeah, that's not going to be. I can give you ideas. I'm I'm great with being like, hey, what about this, and this, but to sit and write it out, I don't think that's the part I want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do need to stay focused if there's something you really, but if it comes naturally, some people, I don't think I could do, that's a plotting and it's work. Some people are just fantastic at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like if I have a good story come to me, like House Rules came to me, then yes. But if I'm like on a contract and they're like, we need 3 movies by, I'm like, no.
Where did the idea come to you? Is cards a big deal in your family?
No, it's not. But have you seen the movie The Best Man?
No, I don't think so.
No? Well, in that movie, there's a scene where they're playing cards. And the movie itself is full of drama, but there's a scene where there's 4 men playing cards. And I loved how they were sitting there playing cards. They had their scotch or whatever they were drinking, and the camera's just going around getting everyone's, expression as they're throwing out the cards and just laughing. And it was something about that.
The visual.
It was the visual.
And a great director who shot it in that way that caught your attention immensely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when I thought of House Rules, and then when you're playing cards, it's usually like the person's house that you're at, or it's their rules, like what cards you play, or how you play spades, or how you play, whatever cards. So
makes perfect sense.
So that's why it's called House Rules.
Makes perfect sense. Dani, it's such a pleasure meeting you. I wish you continued success in your career and come back again.
Hey, if you invite me, I will be here.
Stay in touch. Have a lovely day, and happy early birthday. March is coming around the corner.
Yeah, thank you.
So nice to meet you.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. Thank you to Dani Guevarez for joining me. Check out the First Wives Club on BET+. Please join me tomorrow when writer, media creator, and the host of the Dare to Dream podcast, Vincent Van Patten joins me from Osaka, Japan, where he is living and teaching English. And he will be here to share what he's learned traveling around the world. If you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do so down below. Please hit the like button if you like today's episode. And you can turn on notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. And remember, if you'd like to stream The Locker Room on your favorite streaming platform, search The Locker Room and download your favorite episode. Have a great afternoon and join us tomorrow when Vincent Van Patten joins me right here in The Locker Room.